I believe when I first found out I had diabetes, I wish there was a book like yours available, because it certainly would have helped me more. When I started reading your book, I realized, some of the things oh, this is so true. I shouldn't have done this, and I should do this. And yes, some of the stuff I've been doing. So much more information in your book than when I contacted diabetes. I just thought, well, the pills, that'll take care of it. That's what you think, But then you realize, it's a lifestyle, healthy style of living, and your book does that. And so thank you so much for that book.
The Train the Trainer DVD is a production as a result of a partnership between Karen Graham and the National Aboriginal Diabetes Association, as well as Sanofi. And the purpose is to provide continuous guidelines and resources for the community diabetes prevention workers, as well as other healthcare professionals, to assist them in communicating with their clients, their patients, their constituents in managing diabetes.
Hello, my name is Karen Graham. I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator. You may know me as the author of my cookbook, Diabetes Meals for Good Health. Diabetes is a big part of my life. I've been a diabetes educator for 30 years and I've counseled over 5,000 people with diabetes. Diabetes may also be an important part of your life. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you at conferences or at workshops that I've done in your community. This DVD is about my new book, The Complete Diabetes Guide. It will help you learn how to use my book as a teaching tool so you can help others with diabetes. The Complete Diabetes Guide includes 7 easy steps to prevent or reduce diabetes complications. The DVD features the filming of diabetes workers at a Train the Trainer workshop that I did on the book. I'd like to thank all the diabetes workers who participated in the making of the DVD. They did a terrific job of reviewing the case studies and presenting the diabetes information for you.
This video features highlights from 5 diabetes case studies: meal planning, getting active, quitting smoking, foot care, and healthy families. This video also includes traditional Aboriginal drumming by Spirit Sands and the North Eagle Drummers, and dancing by Denise Meeches. A special feature is interviews by Liz Yellowquill, a community diabetes worker, and with Ray St. Germain, a well-known Métis country singer and entertainer, and Livinia Brown, an Inuk elder. You may want to put on a cup of tea, sit back and relax, and we hope you'll enjoy this video.
I'm very pleased to be here today with my friend and legendary country music entertainer, Ray St. Germain.
Hello, Karen.
And Ray's going to share some of his stories and experiences about diabetes. Ray, you're a busy guy. You're still performing. How do you find time to look after your diabetes?
Let me say this. You try and eat the way you're supposed to. Well, we all cheat a little bit. I mean, I've talked to fellow people with diabetics also, and they agree. They said sometimes you just can't, and sometimes you eat way too much, and you know it the next morning when you take your blood sugar. You know that you've done it. And off and on I've gone that route, and I know that I know it. We know it, and we just have to get stronger about looking after our diabetes, And as I say, walking around a track or walking outside for half an hour, and then your blood sugar's gone down. I've seen it, and it's amazing sometimes to me. And my wife says, "Well, why don't you keep it up?" And I say, "I will." Then yeah, sorry, I didn't today.
What I want you to walk away with today is I really want you to be comfortable to start opening the book up and using it as a teaching tool out in your communities, using it as a resource for yourself, for your family, for your community members. And what you'll see when you flip through it is you're going to see lots of photographs. There's lots of stories from people who have diabetes. It's easy to read, and I'm going to teach you how to find the different parts in it. First of all, we're going to look at the contents of the book. and common diabetes questions. We're going to look at diabetes complications. Why do they happen and what are they? And then we're going to do the case studies. So the table of contents lists all the different topics that are in the book. And if you flip to the very back of the book, the very last 3 pages, you'll see there's an index. For those of you who use the computer, the index and the contents, they're like the search engines that help you find things. So if you're looking for something in the book and you can't find it in the table of contents or one of the table contents for each of the chapters, look in the index. You'll see when you look at the table of contents that there's a section there about learning about diabetes, and that includes questions like what is diabetes, types of diabetes. There's a section on diabetes complications, but the main part of the book is the 7 steps to prevent or reduce diabetes complications. And you'll see those listed. The eating well section is step number 1. Step number 2 is being active. Step number 3 is becoming a non-smoker. Step number 4, preventing infections. 5 is taking medications and tests. 6 is staying upbeat. And 7 is managing at other life stages. I've worked as a diabetes educator for 30 years. And what I find is I get very similar questions asked over and over. And they're very important questions. I took those most common questions and I put them in these 3 pages with very short answers. So if someone asked you, for example, the first question is, do I really have diabetes? Have you heard that question before? You know, people often don't believe, do I really have diabetes? Then you've got, in just a very few lines, a short answer that you can give to that person. So these are, easy answers for you of those common questions. What are some really common questions that you would get about diabetes? What are the kind of most common questions that people come into your office with?
Why me? People that have been diagnosed with diabetes often ask the question, why me? What can I do? What did I do? How can I make myself better? How can I live a better life? Do I have to quit smoking? Do I have to quit eating this? Do I have to quit eating that? With diabetes, making any change is difficult. One of the things that I tell people when it comes to meals, you don't really need to change anything. It's in moderation. How you cook your food, how much you eat, and when to eat.
Well, the complete diabetes guide for type 2 diabetes, this is really well written. It's questions and answers, and straight answers to common diabetic diabetes questions. Can I eat in restaurants? Restaurants, sometimes they're higher in fat, sugar, and salt, which you mentioned here. And, but some restaurants really look after diabetics when they come in. They say, we can cook especially for you. And you have to find those restaurants. Because then somebody who is not a diabetic can have their regular meal and you can have your meal and just as delicious.
So now turn to the diabetes complications section. And it's really explaining why do people with diabetes get the complications that we know about, whether it's losing some vision, effects for their kidneys, heart attacks and strokes. Why is that happening? So some people wonder, why is it that diabetes causes so many different problems in our body? The main reason is that diabetes affects 2 parts of our body in particular. It affects our blood vessels, which are everywhere in our body, and it affects the nerves, which are also everywhere in our body. In fact, the nerves are attached to the blood vessels. So this is a diagram of a healthy blood vessel. And what you'll see is that the blood can flow freely through the blood vessel. The blood vessel wall is very flexible and bendy, and it's quite thin. And so there's no blockages there. Now, what happens with a lot of sugar in the blood is the sugar starts moving into the blood vessel wall. So what you'll see in this diagram is the blood vessel wall is starting to get thickened. And high blood sugars also increase cholesterol and fat in our blood as well, which also moves into that blood vessel wall. So now you have a blood vessel that's a little bit thickened, and also that blood that's moving through, it becomes thickened because of the high sugar as well. So imagine Kool-Aid and then think about ketchup, and you think how thick the ketchup is. Our blood starts getting a little bit thicker and it's more likely to clot. So the outcome can be you could have a clot in a blood vessel. Now, if this was a small blood vessel in your finger, you might have some tingling or some numbness in that hand or in the fingertips. But if it was a major blood vessel going to the brain or to the heart, of course, it could be a lot more serious. So we're going to do a demonstration on how this works. I have a container of blood, but it's not really blood. It's just food dye. And this is representing the blood that would be in a person's body. And I also have here something that represents the heart. Anybody know what this is in real life? Yeah, it could be a turkey baster for a really big turkey. It's actually a pump that painters use. We're going to put the heart pump into the blood supply. And now I need a volunteer. Hi, Noella. All right, thank you for volunteering. So we have two types of blood vessels here. And what do you see inside that blood vessel?
Nothing.
Okay, so it's nice and clear. It looked like that first blood vessel we looked at, which was a very healthy young blood vessel. And then we've got another blood vessel here. How does it look compared to that one?
Clogged.
It looks clogged. She's saying it looks clogged. And it does. So this one's a very clogged. We've got another tube inside the first tube. So now we've got a very clogged blood vessel. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the healthy blood vessel. And Noella's going to work the heart pump. I'm going to have you do 10 complete pumps. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we've got 10 heart pumps there. And how did that feel? How was that for pumping?
Hard.
The heart has to work pretty hard, right, to pump that blood around. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a marker and we're going to mark on this container to show how much blood she was able to pump through in 10 pumps. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a switcheroo. So we're going to put this blood back in here. And now what Noella's going to do is she's going to do 10 pumps again. But this time, she's going to do it with the clogged blood vessel. So now we're going to put the clogged blood vessel on there. Now I'm going to have you do 10 pumps, and we're going to count with her. 1, 2, excuse her, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And how was that?
Harder.
It was a lot harder to pump. Yeah. Quite a lot harder, right? Yeah. Thank you, Noella. Imagine if that was your blood vessel and that this is your poor heart that's having to pump through a thickened blood vessel. And the other thing that I wanted to show you here, remember with the first one, with the nice clear blood vessel, we measured how much blood went through with 10 pumps. I don't know if you can see the line, but it's actually up here. And with the narrowed blood vessel, we only were able to pump this much. Even though she pumped 10 pumps, just as many, and she pumped extra hard, she had to work extra hard, it didn't pump as much blood around. And that's what happens when the blood vessels are narrowed, and that's why you have problems with circulation. What are some of the other things that are going to help improve the inside of our blood vessels? Quitting smoking is really important, and cutting back on fat. What else? Yeah, fiber, and some of the vitamins and minerals, so just that healthy diet, the fruits and vegetables, have antioxidants that definitely have a role in clearing that out. And one of the other big things is exercise. Exercise is really important. It burns the cholesterol out of the blood vessel, makes the blood vessel more flexible, and we'll be looking at exercise in one of the case studies today.
Meal planning for a man who misses breakfast, overeats at supper, and snacks a lot on junk food and juice.
He's not eating breakfast, so, and talking to him about the importance of having a breakfast. What we put down as a healthy breakfast for him is perhaps an oatmeal with chopped nuts with 1% skim milk. Is that?
1%
or skim milk.
One of the big problems we have is people with diabetes don't eat breakfast. They do not eat their meals until lunchtime, maybe not till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we kind of forget about their medication, and they don't take it till they eat. So that's one of the problems that we have, trying to teach them that it's important to them to have a meal along with their medication, and to try and have it on the same time every day.
We talked to him about is to stick to portion sizes when he has his meals, especially with meat.
Okay, he needs to stick to his portion sizes for his meat and his carbohydrates, and half of his plate should be with vegetables so that he gets a portion size of the proper vegetables for the day. And you wrote that.
Yeah, and according to his sizes, yeah. No,
and have meat boiled.
They made some really important points. One, they talked about the portion sizes. They were saying using your hand, and there's a great picture in your book that shows those hand portions that they were talking about.
Your meat portion should be about the size of the palm of your hand, and your starch portion about the size of your fist.
I like that you chose that place to start. You don't want them to try and make too many changes all at once.
And also he likes to have a good share of apple juice, so we put half a cup of apple juice. So we don't take away everything that he likes. So now it's all like portion sizes that's healthy for him.
So focusing on cutting the juice was a really important thing. Anybody know how much sugar is in juice compared to Coca-Cola? It's about 10 teaspoons of sugar in a can of Coke and about 11 teaspoons of sugar in the same amount of apple juice. So that was a really important point you made for him to try and cut back, although not cutting out, as you say, because he's used to having that, but cutting back on the juice that has a lot of sugar.
And I'm seeing a lot of addiction in pops. I was addicted myself to Pepsi when I was a teenager, thinking that it came from South, so this is good. And little did I know that you get addicted. And as you age, it gets worse. You want more. And I had to kind of stop myself from that because I was getting too heavy. I was getting too fat. And probably so much sugar in those pops makes you fat. And some days I couldn't go without a pop. I had to have a pop every single day. Pepsi, not Coke, but it had to be Pepsi. And we're seeing that a lot, drinking way too much pop in the communities. And yet there's people who are looking after themselves. There are those people that are, care for themselves. Just like cigarettes is addictive, so is pop. And just like when a person learn to smoke, I think what they say is like what I did about pop. Oh, I'll just have one more. I won't get addicted. But I did get addicted. And the more I got addicted, the more I wanted some. And as I aged, it came every day now. Until one day I stopped. It's going to do something to me in my stomach because it's too much. One thing of something is not good. So I stopped my addiction of pop.
Getting active. Exercise for a woman with arthritis.
We came up with the #1 choice was walking. It doesn't cost anything. You could basically walk anywhere, depending you don't have any dogs chasing you, I guess. For motivation, you can walk with a partner, ensuring you have the proper footwear and start out slow. And for the tips for her arthritis, making sure she takes her medication, walking at the right time when she has less pain, and limit your walking like 5 to 10 minutes at a time. And the fitness plan we came up with her was plan number 1, which is being the least active, which she increases her exercise from 5 to 10 minutes throughout the day to a longer period throughout the week.
Great job. So those were lots of great tips and ideas that you gave her to try and get her to become more active. I also like that you selected the exercise plan number 1 for her. 1 is the lowest level, 2 is mid, and then 3 is a little bit higher. And so level plan 1 is for people who do less than 15 minutes of exercise a day. And so this is a plan to just start them becoming a little bit more active. And it does include things like chair exercises. It includes walking, things that they can do in smaller amounts.
Yeah, I like to walk a lot. I'm not lazy to walk, but I'm lazy to do exercise because my husband bought me a treadmill, a bicycle, and I tried that, and I was still lazy to do it, but I forced myself, and it really, really helped. But I'd rather walk than that bicycle. And then I go in the swimming pool. I can't swim, but I do exercise on the water.
But I knew that I had to walk. That was one thing the doctor did tell me, is you have to start walking, you start losing some of that weight that put around the waist. We all know around the waist, that's where it happens, and you have to get that down. So I started walking, but I've been finding, of course, the more walking that I do, the better. I still have some weight to lose. Exercise is always a challenge.
Quitting smoking for a man with high blood pressure and high cholesterol.
Each session that you encounter with him, revisit the reasons for quitting to smoke. And it may not be because he's got diabetes and high cholesterol. It may be because the cost of cigarettes have gone up yet again and he can't afford it. So find out what his reasons are for quitting smoking. The first thing you could tackle is the circulation issue. And using that tool that you used today, show him how smoking and high cholesterol can impact his heart and circulation. Ask him if he set a quit date and encourage him to set a date that's good for success. Talk about triggers. Does he smoke and drink coffee? Does he smoke first thing in the morning? Does he smoke with the guys outside of the restaurant or whatever? And ask him how to deal with all of those triggers. Ask him how he quit the first time and what happened that made him go back to smoking, and set a plan for how to avoid that.
Great. Thank you. Although he's saying he doesn't want to quit, the fact that he quit once before, he does want to quit. Right? And he has a good chance, because if you've quit once, your chances of being able to quit again are higher, the more times you've tried. So actually, I think he's there for a reason. And I love the fact that you said you're going to take this step by step and move him through that process of talking about a quit date when he's ready.
I knew you were going to ask me that question on smoking. My wife, of course, is a non-smoker. It's hard on her. I grew up in an era where smoking was glamorous. Television, movies, musician, and working clubs where smoking was a norm in clubs. I mean, if you had played a nightclub, whatever you were playing, a lounge, a pub, whatever, there were ashtrays on the table. One of the serving things that they would do for you is, take your drink order, change your ashtray. That was just a normal way of life. I grew up in that era. I've quit many, many times, and I know I should. And I'm in the process of trying to quit again. I'm down. I'm older now, so I don't smoke as much as I used to. I still smoke. As my doctor says, even one cigarette is too much. And he's right, and I know that. But it's a habit that's so hard to kick. And I've tried, the chewing things and, different, he's even given me some prescriptions on it. Some of them I end up having nightmares, can't sleep, that kind of stuff. And then I'll go for 6 months without smoking or even wanting to, just forgetting about it, getting busy. I think you have to get busy, And then we went for a holiday to Mexico, and there was smoking. and I started again. I know I will quit. I know that. With everything that we know now about smoking and the harm it does to a person's body, why in the world would anyone start now? I mean, it's been told to, you know, kids in school and the whole thing, and they show them what can happen to them and the whole thing. They still do it, some of them. Some of them swear off it, they'll never do it. I started smoking when I was 20. I'd gone through all my teen years without smoking. I was on a long trip from Toronto to Winnipeg, and I stopped and got a package of cigarettes. I regret it. I regret it.
Foot care for a man who's had diabetes for 5 years.
The other thing that we talked to him about was preventing infections, about what he could do on a daily basis. If he can't see the bottom of his feet, to get a mirror and check his feet on a daily basis. Check between his toes for sores, ulcers developing. Watch for changes in the shape of his foot. Check his shoes before he put his shoes on. Preferably wear shoes all the time, wherever he might be. Wear loose-fitting socks made of cotton wool or cotton acrylic blends, limiting the bumps. If there was seams or anything, turn them inside out. Check for swelling, redness or color changes. Checking for cracks or bleeding. After washing and drying his feet, apply moisture cream within 15 minutes of his bath or shower. Also, not applying that cream between the toes.
If there's one message that I'd like to get out to the people about their feet, is taking good care of them, seeing either their foot care nurse or the podiatrist on a regular basis. It's important because one of the complications of diabetes is amputations. So like it's good for us to be teaching people about proper foot care, proper socks, proper cutting of nails, just basically proper care of the feet. The key messages would be keeping your blood sugar at a normal level, exercising, making healthy choices with your diet, making sure that in regards to foot care that you dry your feet properly and inspecting your feet on a daily basis.
Checking his toenails and cutting straight across with natural curve on the edges so that there was nothing sharp. And if he found anything or suspected anything that was wrong, to contact his nurse or doctor or a foot care nurse. I think we covered almost everything.
You did. That was very thorough. Thank you very much. Now I just will direct you to the section of the book. You'll see those are the 10 tips for keeping your feet healthy. Great. Thank you very much.
Well, my older brother Brian, he was 4 years older than I am, and he lost a toe. And you lost it because you're diabetic? We better find out more about this, you know. I keep watching my toes, I'll tell you that. I get out of the shower, I make sure everything is dry in between the toes, and I check and everything, and so far, it's just a normal looking ugly foot.
Healthy families. Suggestions for families with a child or teenager with diabetes.
We're going to explain to Mom that she should start by making healthy food choices for her family. And she has to make time to make the dinner. They should dine out less, and she could also involve her kids to cook with her. When they're preparing the food, she should add more veggies, because if your kids see you eating your veggies, then eventually they'll eat theirs. She should provide healthy snacks and smaller portions, and they should choose water over pop. The teen will need support and guidance, and she should set rules and limits, and this will help the child to lead a stronger and healthier lifestyle.
If I was working with a teenager with diabetes, I would have the family involved. They need to be involved in all the aspects of their care. Education is important to both the child and the family, what it is, what it does, how to manage the lifestyle. While they're teaching that, they can also be looking at different aspects of diabetes itself, but also how we can prevent or delay the onset of diabetes within our children. I think the more the children learn in education, like you said, they did have a better outlook on life. The children want their parents to be involved in their programs. They want their mom, their dad, their brother, their sister to be involved to help the kids like that interaction. But they also like to have their parents sit back and they do the learning. I think what is important is, as a family, they work together as a family, as a community, we work together as a community. In physical activity, we do have parents that are involved with their kids, whether it's baseball, whether it's swimming, whether it's roller skating, whether just walking trails. I see it as like a bonding, a unity. For example, if you see a family walking together, of course others are going to join in. If you see kids playing together, you know, or one playing by themselves, then pretty soon they've got all these games going. It's nice to see. You know the saying, it takes community to raise a child. One of ours is it takes community to get rid of diabetes, and that's through physical activity.
And for exercising, they should turn their TV off while having dinner, and she should get her kids involved, such as hiking or going for walks. Plan something for after dinner. Get the adults involved, like street hockey. Just get the whole family involved in exercise.
What I liked about what your table presented on the topic was you really looked at trying to involve the whole family rather than centering out the one child that had diabetes, but you looked at family changes, and I like that, you know, in terms of meals and exercise as well.
What's the great thing about this book, I see that's managing at other life stages, preschoolers to teenagers. Gives us some great advice in pregnancy and sexuality and diabetes. That's interesting too. Bursts through your circulation and nerves, and it goes on, and it gives you some good advice. In other words, this book it covers everything about type 2 diabetes. There isn't a question you can ask. It's in here. You'll find the answer, and that's what I like about this book. It's fantastic.
So I noticed that 3 things are good for me. Go see your doctor regularly, get your eyes checked every year. I have a clean bill of health on my eyes, that I have no sign of diabetes in my eyes, which I really appreciate. And number 2, take your pills as the doctor orders. Listen to your doctor. Number 3, exercising, dieting have worked for me. And I have noticed that the more I do more physical work, the better I feel. I'm not short of breath. And I used to be short of breath when I was overweight and I didn't do much walking or up the stairs and stuff like that. So those are the 3 areas that have really, really helped me. And I'm a traditional person, and I thought I would never be on medication, but they're working for me, so I'm going to stick with them.
What I think is most important in the fight against diabetes is education, awareness, promotion, prevention, and all those programs can be combined and, you know, taught into the community, taught in the schools, in band offices. As long as you get your message across, make people listen.
Right. Yeah.
You know, sit up and listen.